I'm Adrienne Rogers, Artistic Director for Product Club, and I'm going to give you some really great tips to use when tipping out. Tipping the hair out is typically referred to when you're speaking of doing foils or anything at the base, and then you're going to grab ends that are left out and brighten those up. In this case, this mannequin was a brown-haired mannequin, and often if I do someone with brown hair and it's very long, I'm going to highlight them, and if I don't tip it out, I think it doesn't look like enough color. Because the hair rests over the round of the head and is compressed when you look at it, you're going to be able to see highlights very easily. Through this section, when the light reflects, you can see them all. But when hair gets down lower, it's very difficult to see the highlights in the hair, and a great way to emphasize them and bring them to life is by tipping out. When you are doing a blonde client, often a blonde-haired client will get a dull residue on the ends of the hair. Tipping the hair out allows you to lift off some of that old residue, and it allows the ends of your client's hair to look bright again. So there's multiple reasons to do this, and in this case we're doing it to create nice emphasis through the ends. There's lots of different ways that you can do this. You can do this with clay lighteners, you can do this with regular lightener in foil, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how each of those benefits you and how to go about doing that. So I've completed a herringbone wrap, a nice diagonal wrap on this mannequin's head. And you can see we have lots of depth still coming through here. If you are balayaging when you are tipping out and painting just the ends of the hair, you want to be sure to use a strong enough balayage solution. The tricky part is the timing when you are doing this kind of work, because if I am using lightener in my foils, that is processing already when you come in for the tip out. So you're either going to need to increase your developer's strength, making sure that that hair is insulated so that you can get it where it needs to be. Because if you take these foils down and these are very, very light, and then you have orange through the ends, it's not going to work. So a lot of your finesse is in formulation for this. You want to think about how that hair is going to come up. When you are working on a blonde person, you want to use a very gentle lightener through the ends of their hair to make sure that you don't over-process the hair. You want to use a lower developer, and you want to probably not insulate that, as it will dry up quicker and you will protect the hair from damage. So I'm coming through here and I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to move her around the back because I do want some action happening back in here. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to lift some of this hair up, and I'm going to kind of assess what's happening underneath. You don't have to tip everything out. You want to maybe leave a little depth in, although this is all just a design choice. You can do it either way. If you do all of the ends, you're going to get very strong lightness through the bottom. If you're looking for something a little more dimensional, don't do all of the ends. So I'm going to kind of look at how much bulk is happening through the back, and I'm going to subdivide this again and just kind of think about how much hair you have in each section. The more saturation you're looking for and the more lift, the more you're going to want the section to be thinner. The thicker it is, the less possible it is that you're going to get full saturation, especially with a clay lightener. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to do a demo as I would normally do, which for a brunette person, I would use regular lightener and I would put it in a foil. The regular lightener lifts quicker and it lifts a little bit more consistently, and I'm going to go for full saturation through the ends. I'm also going to place this in a foil to make sure that I have that conductivity that I need. You don't want to apply the lightener in a consistent fashion throughout the head. If all of the lightener is applied to the exact same spot, you're literally going to get a line of demarcation or a cliff feeling coming through the bottom. So you want to make sure to be a little bit irregular. On some of them, come up a little higher. On some of them, come a little lower. The organic nature of application keeps the hair color looking sophisticated and doesn't create a new problem that you have to correct. I also think that it's a good idea to backcomb this. So you can see that I'm in between several sets of foils. There's about 3 foils, and I'm grabbing this hair and I'm going to pull it down into gravity, and then I'm going to backcomb it. The backcombing helps push out some of the hair, so it also helps assist you with not having a line of demarcation in the hair. So for this, I'm going to come on the low side. I'm just going to apply it through here, and I am going to use a foil for this. So I'm going to place this underneath. And then I'm going to apply it, and I'm using my angled brush, which is just going to set me up here so that I can use the pointed tip to come in on a higher angle. So I get a nice higher point here, and then painting down. Now, depending on the density of the hair, it's not a bad idea to take your comb and comb it through, making sure that you get all of the hair. You can also preload your foil with lightener. That's a great way to make sure that that saturation is going all the way through. And then really make sure you move the brush side to side, getting full coverage of each of these hair strands in order to get that impact. Now, I want to be careful not to fold my foil all the way up, because if I do, I'm going to take this lightener here and I'm going to get it into the pocket of depth that I have created. So I'm going to fold this once in order to protect the pocket, and then I'm going to fold it again, and then I'm going to close each side, allowing for me to encapsulate the brightness through the ends. And then I would drop out a section or two, depending on what you're doing. It's all about the design. If you're looking for lots and lots of brightness, you most certainly can do every one of them. Now, when I drop this section down, I'm gonna look at what I'm looking for, how much impact I want from this. I'm gonna drop one more section here. And then I'm gonna work on this separately, this top section. Also kind of wanna look at, where is this hair coming from? If it's falling this way right now, where is it gonna fall in real life? So you kind of wanna think about that. I'm gonna push that over that way. I'm gonna hold this hair once again, backcombing the hair. And then I'm gonna go a little higher because I wanna make sure that I get that movement coming through. So the first one I applied lower on the hair strand, and here I'm gonna come up a bit higher just to make sure that I have good color impact. I'm gonna take my foil, place it under, and there's quite a bit of hair here, so you really wanna make sure that you get it through the strands in order for that effect to happen. I typically do this more when this hair is virgin. When the hair is already lightened, I don't usually come up quite so high. But you definitely want to make sure that you vary your placement. That is the biggest, most important thing. If it is too consistent, it reads too consistent. Combing through a little bit, just making sure I've got that through. It's not a bad idea to have a towel so you can wipe your comb off too. And then coming through higher toward the front, and maybe pick it up a little in the back just so there's some variety. And you can see it's elevated a little bit, so I'm going to pull it down to get that bubble out, folding it again to where that strong color application will not now damage the pocket that you have created. So now if this is a blonde person, you're going to want to brighten up those ends. So just imagine that that's the situation we're in. You can use a clay with a low developer, and you can just paint this out. If the client is a blonde person, typically it's never too blonde. Blonde people love the brightness. So if you're coming through and it seems like there's some natural hair still in here, you may want to encapsulate this. So if you are painting and you feel that you need that extra developing time, or you're worried that the ends aren't going to come up as light as you want them to when these foils are done, definitely increase your developer a little bit, and then you're going to use balayage film to help encapsulate this. Wrapping the balayage film through this, maybe just leave those little ends out. You can wrap it around And the film is great because you can really customize each thing. So you can just wrap that and have that drop. You can see I've left these little ends out. Typically the ends are always going to be the most damaged. So when this dries out, it will be done processing. The stuff that needs more processing is encapsulated by the balayage film, allowing it to not dry as quickly and gives you more lift. So these are brunettes underneath, and this is a blonde situation here. Now when I come through the front, depending on where I am and how much I want to brighten this, I'm going to drop all of this down. This also really matters for density too, because you don't have to just come through horizontally. If you continue to move horizontally through the hair and doing this, it's gonna be just like a foil. You're gonna get like a sheet of color. You can also subdivide this hair into more linear pieces. So you're coming through and all of this hair, you're coming straight down. So instead of treating this in between the foils, you're looking at the collective hair coming down and you're grabbing streams of it and brightening them. So that's what I'm gonna do here. So all of these anchor foils are going to be bright at the base, and this is gonna help give you that nice strong piece in the front. If you go too horizontal, it's gonna break that up and you're not gonna feel it. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna backcomb just a little bit because I don't actually wanna displace too much of the hair. If you over backcomb the hair, you will not see a result in the end. So though backcombing is an excellent tool to help you soften the lines of demarcation, when you do it too much, you're going to end up losing the effect. It's a very fine line. So I'm coming in here, and for this one, I'm going back to the regular lightener at a higher developer than the top. And then I'm applying it. Make sure you use enough product. And then coming up higher toward the face. If I see a good light piece already there, I almost always try to grab that because the cumulative color is always the best. That way you get a nice variety of brightness. When there's a light piece that you reapply, it's gonna be lighter than the rest. My favorite clients are the people that come for a long time because you can really tailor that hair and make it perfect. Coming through, folding it to protect the top, and then double folding it again. So now in the front, we have a nice strong piece happening right there in the front. You can see that I didn't leave too much out. And then as I move back, I'm going to dilute that design because I don't want all of this strong. So now I'm gonna go back into the horizontals. I'm gonna drop this down. Thinking about the way the client wears their hair is always an important thing. If they wear their hair pushed back, you may want to apply it straight down. If they wear it coming forward, over direct it. Directional placement is very important. Looks a little too thick to me, so I'm gonna drop that out. If the hair is too thick, it may lift too warm, so you do wanna pay attention to that. But this is more of a detail and a nuance that you can add to your basic highlight that's really going to take it to the next level. Not to mention that you can charge more because you are doing more to their hair. Make sure that you add on for this. This is a lot of work. This is not just a full highlight. This is real dimensional work that needs to be charged for. If you do it once and don't charge them, they're gonna think it has to happen every time, and you're setting yourself up for a much more labor-intensive client without the payoff. Coming through, brightening these ends. And then I'm gonna slide it down a little bit just to get a smoother foil. Depending on how long the hair is, you will get a little bit of a buckle because you have to lift it up to paint it. Okay. And then I'm gonna leave a little bit out, making sure that I keep some of the softness in her hair. As I look at this, I'm gonna do another stream so that this stream comes, and now I'm gonna kick this one down a little bit further so that I get a nice strong piece here. And now design-wise, I'm looking at it and making these decisions as I go. I'm gonna move this slightly lower on the hair strand, little bit of backcomb. I might even do a little bit more here so I get that stronger piece up front, and if I do a little more, then it's gonna dissipate as I move back. I like to think about an almond shape a lot. You kind of want that nice flow coming through, brightening that up. It's very flattering. Coming through the ends. Making sure you get really good saturation. I like to use this angled brush because I can get really nice, strong color coming through with the tip and then soften it out as I move it onto the side. Folding it up, protecting that. Often clients that don't get highlights all the time will be disappointed if you don't do this because you lose that impact through the longer hair. If they don't see that, they're going to feel like they're missing something. Now I'm just going to take this top layer here and I'm going to do this one horizontally and I'm going to go up on each side. These sort of things, as I go, you design your work. Think about where it's going to need it. Where does the client need the brightness? If they're a blonde person and their ends are very dull and you feel like you have to do all of them, it may make more sense to do wet balayage in the bowl. That way you can get all of the ends in the hair. But when you are doing design work where you are picking out certain pieces, it makes sense to do them in the foil. Playing the developer game is something that really gets easier with experience. When you really know your color line, how your lighteners lift, what developers make them do what, it will get easier and easier to decide how to proceed. That's the real benefit of knowing your color line. I'm gonna fold it to protect the pocket, folding it up again. And then we're gonna get a nice movement of brightness coming through the ends while maintaining some of the depth. Remember, if you're doing a blonde client and you're looking to pull some of that old dampening pigment off the ends, if it looks dull or it's glazed, a great way is to do it with balayage and leave those very ends out so you don't over-process them, or you can just allow them to be in open air. It doesn't need that much lift. But when you are working with a darker haired client, you're going to want to make sure that you have enough developer, enough strength in there with your lightener to lift it up so that it balances out with the rest of the color. So here we are on the finished side, and you can see how we got nice brightness through the ends. There's still depth in there, so it has a nice soft effect, but you can see we connected it at the top with the foils, and then we brought a little bit more life to it through the ends so that you get a very nice effect with more brightness and a softer transition of color as you move through the head. This is a great way to brighten up your blondes and to give your brunettes a more ribbony finish.